Let me ask you a question. Are you close to anybody who struggles with addiction? You know, for years, I've been receiving messages from family members of those who struggle with addiction of all kinds. Alcohol, drugs, food, sex, whatever. And while the questions have generally been the same, I've never had a solid, systematic way to help those families. So what we were always left with was an email here, an email there, maybe a phone call. But that is all about to change. Because Ignited is launching its first ever program specifically for family members of those who are struggling. We're bringing together some incredible expertise, not just my own decades of addiction and mental health knowledge, but also that of Jeff Jones, an incredible interventionist and family expert, and Tina Conkin, a powerhouse relationship coach who's been helping families stay together and make it through crises for almost 30 years. Now on May 26th, we're going to begin the first and only time that this program is going to take place live, and the only time it's going to be available for a huge discount. Yes, you literally get the three of us and some amazing guest experts live for a whole month to help you and your loved one. We're going to be answering questions like, how do you talk with less fighting? Can you actually help somebody want to get help? What's the difference between tough love and enabling, and which one should you use right now? What is the right kind of help for your specific person? What kind of interventions are most appropriate for you? Those are just some of the incredible topics that we're going to cover in this month-long program. You'll also be getting a boatload of incredible bonuses, including group support throughout and some amazing guides to help you actually create change. This is truly the most complete program ever that will allow you to transform the relationships in your family and help you overcome addiction for the long haul. So if you're interested or you know somebody else who might be able to benefit from something like this, just go to bit.ly/famhelp in all caps. Again, that's bit.ly, all caps, FAM help, and get started right now.
The more artificial light that we're exposing ourselves to, coupled with the lack of natural light, which is, makes us happy and feel good, is leading to this epidemic of seasonal affective disorder and also, heightened anxiety and depression.
Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Andy Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Andy Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we are here for you today with an episode that's kind of like about neurohacking, brain science-y in a way. I'm wearing my BLUblox glasses right now, and we will talk about them more in a second, but we've got Andy Mant from BLUblox, which we're really, really excited about. So, because we want you to get into the research and the conversation here pretty quick, let's get our review drum roll. Coming to you this week is Liz Kliniski. I totally butchered that name. I'm going to do it again. Coming to you this week is Liz Klasinski. Healing My Soul. This podcast has been soul healing for me. I recently read in a book that mentioned a person's community or tribe can extend out to people you don't know personally, but who you feel deeply connected to and make your soul sing. Coming from a family with deep roots of addiction and mental health struggles, I always thought that it was in my genetics and I had no control over it. There was rarely a conversation that proved otherwise until I found your platform a few years ago. Through your conversations, I've learned to rewrite my story and heal my inner child that has been screaming inside of me for so long, I can't even remember. Your vulnerability and honesty has affirmed that I'm not alone. I have the power to go deep with myself and change behaviors to do what feels best for me! ! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for constantly showing up. Love you guys. Well, we love you too, Liz. And you just won an amazing care package from us. So do me a favor, find us on Instagram, Facebook, email info@ignited.com. Something, let us know how to get in touch with you, and we'll give you that care package.
Yeah. And if anyone is new listening, maybe hearing this for the first time, or just wasn't paying attention last time, we are gifting one person, if we read your review on air, which we read almost all of them, except for the shitty ones. So don't do that. We will send you an amazing package from Ignited and Philosophy Superfoods, and you get to pick what you want, or we might just surprise you with something. So make sure that you leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts.
Heck yeah. Sophie, you got a quote for us?
This is more of a concept. One of my good friends had this on her door, a version of this for a really long time.
I love it.
So my version is like this. Is this situation or relationship recharging my soul or draining it? Do I feel lit up or depleted? Where am I leaking my energy? I'm going to repeat that. Is this situation or relationship recharging my soul or draining it? Do I feel lit up or depleted? Where am I leaking my energy? And just a question to ask yourself, to be curious about in all things of life, when it comes to any sort of conflict, or maybe something that you're not feeling great about in your career, in your social life, with your relationships, intimate relationships, your family, personal things that you're going through. Just really tapping into these questions can help simplify what seems really challenging.
Yeah, no doubt. And just the idea of being able to inquire about those things and not feel guilty and shitty about them, but rather just be able to say, hey, where is this happening? And can I fix the leak a little bit?
Yeah, I've been just trying to be curious about things lately. Like, I wonder why that's happening, instead of like, oh, I'm such a blah, 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 or
Totally.
I messed up in that way. Just like, I wonder why, fill in the blank.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really powerful concept. I do that a lot with the couples that I work with. And weird segue, because I didn't think that's how this transition was going to work. You know, we're talking to kind of a geeky, sciencey guy today about how he invented a new kind of set of BLUblox glasses. And for those of you who don't know, I'm wearing mine right now. BLUblox glasses have been making a comeback in the last few years. I saw them a lot on like infomercials when I was a kid, but they were really bulky, weird ones that old people would wear outside because they couldn't take sunlight. Well, with so many devices around, we get this white and blue noise pollution in our eyes all the time, and we get stressed. And I know, so if you try to kind of get out more, but I work in front of a computer all the time. And so I found so many people that I know using these things more and more and more. And then Andy reached out to us, and you were talking about being curious. He literally started this company because he was curious about whether the glasses that he had were doing what they were supposed to do. And it's so funny because there are so many opportunities to be curious.
Yeah.
Right? We go through life assuming everything is what it seems, never really asking the question. And one of the things he did was he took us to a lab and just went like, hey, is this actually blocking the light it's supposed to block? And so whether it's in your relationship or
and just
at work,
you could create something amazing with it. And just, even in our own personal life, like asking your friends questions, not just assuming that you're the most interesting person in the room, or your story is the most interesting, or that there's nothing new to learn, or you're bored. If you're bored, you're boring. It's what we say to our kids, and it's true. If you're not interested, if you're not curious, how can you ask some questions? It keeps you young. Because the minute that you think that you know everything is the minute that you're dying.
Well,
or you're stagnant.
I'm going to have to figure out the quote now, but there's this quote that says like, the more you know you don't know.
Exactly.
Right. And it's, that is the source of wisdom. The source of wisdom is not to start believing that because you've been around for a while and you learned a lot of things, you know everything. It's like, when you really develop curiosity, you realize there's always more depth to go into any topic, and you can always figure out a way to refine and do better.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely learning that in this relationship.
More places to travel to. There's always more places in the world. It's infinite.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to jump into this for you guys. Check them out. We've also got a discount code for you that will be in the show notes.
Woohoo!
For BLUblox, because they're amazing. So BLUblox is, it's been magical. I wear them now. The people on our chats, because we've got these Ignited chats that happen all the time. We've got like 8 of them now. And when I go, my people on my chat know that if I'm wearing them, I'm having a stressful day, because when I put these on, I feel immediately more relaxed. It's
so great. Cool. So amazing how things actually can work.
It's pretty amazing. All right, everybody.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Check out Andy on the other side. Hey everybody, Andy here, and I wanted to tell you about these new BLUblox glasses that I've been wearing. If you're on any of our chats, you might have actually literally seen me wear them, because the ones I wear have these yellow lenses. And I gotta tell you, I've tried other BLUblox glasses before, and they felt okay, right? I felt a little bit of a shift in the way that the screens that I'm staring at every single day affected me. But then I heard about BLUblox, and these guys really went to task. We just interviewed their founder. He's an amazing, amazing guy who really wanted to understand how does light affect vision. And I'm like the science guy here. So I wanted to tell you that there's nothing I put on. So they have BLUblox has 3 different levels of their lenses. Blue light, which are kind of like the ones you see a lot of people wear around. They're clear and help with the blue light coming in from screens. My favorites are the summer glow lenses. They're yellow lenses, and I swear I put these things on during the day and I can actually feel my anxiety go down. And that's what they're meant for. It's like the combination of color therapy and blue light blocking at the same time. And then on top of those, they created the Sleep Plus lens that is almost like a reddish orange. It blocks out almost all of the blue light that's coming your way, and so it's really, really great right before sleep. But here's the thing. These are amazing glasses that have actually been tested to block out the right frequencies of blue light. So if you're like me, especially during this time when we're staring at screens and Zoom and meetings and everything is happening online, you want to get these glasses, because I feel it. Literally, my sleep is better. My anxiety throughout the day is better when I put these things on. They're amazing. And we got you guys a special code. If you use the code IGNITED, just capital IGNTD, you'll get not only free shipping, but also 15% off. And these things are coming all the way from Australia. So you want to save on that shipping. All right, guys, check these out. They're amazing. This is the only company that actually backs their blue light blocking by scientific evidence that the right frequencies are being blocked. It's going to help change your life. Well, thankfully, we get to do this remotely.
Yes.
And as far as I know, currently the coronavirus will not travel through the interwebs. So we're safe.
We are safe.
Who knows? Maybe it'll mutate soon. That would suck.
That would suck.
So I think we just jump right into it.
Yeah, sure.
I think that would be
absolutely.
the coolest way. And I'm going to start you off with a question. Not everybody who ends up being heavier than they want to and feeling lethargic and tired all the time invents new glasses.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through what brought us to this point?
Yeah, I think it's an awesome question. And my journey started probably a good 10 years ago. And I was really overweight, really lethargic. And it was funny, my wife and I dug out some old pictures yesterday, and we were just like, wow, look how far we've come in terms of, just weight and aesthetics and health in those 10 years. But
you got to send us pictures, because on the blog post that we put it, I think our people they'd love to see the transformation, right? Because we're going to talk about how transformative this is. Yeah,
absolutely. I can definitely send those. You might have to put a little bit of a warning on the photos when they go out, but that's cool. We don't want to scare anyone. Maybe Halloween would be good. But I didn't actually sort of start out my health journey being like, wow, I've got to critically think about this. I took all the government advice, the standard doctor's advice and all that junk, like cut your calories down, exercise a little bit more and you'll be totally fine. Just didn't work for obvious reasons. I was always hungry, and the more I exercised, the more I wanted to eat. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to actually critically think about this. I'm going to actually do my own research. And at the time, we stumbled across a ketogenic diet. It worked well for us. We got a lot of weight off, and we felt better. These days, it's actually a little bit more plant focused, but that sort of is another conversation. Now, what that led me to sort of think about was, what we're being told about things from big organizations is really not always the truth. So I wanted to think about everything in my life that I could improve. And one thing that really never worked well for me since I was about 14 years old, so probably pretty much when I was going through puberty, my sleep was massively impacted. I used to be able to sleep. I remember I always used to be able to sleep through the night. Even as a baby, I was like so good. I used to sleep through the night. As soon as I hit 14, it was just, my sleep just regressed. And I felt like, I was waking up 2 or 3 times in the night and generally feeling a little bit tired. And I just sort of put it down to, I'm a teenager, whatever, didn't really raise it with anyone. When you're young, you're going through your teens and your 20s, you can kind of, get through it. It's never really too much of an issue. And then when I obviously lost all this weight through critical thinking and research, I thought to myself, right, let's tackle this. This isn't normal. I'm still not sleeping. I'm still getting up. I've slept through the night like once in 20 years. Oh. What could be happening here? And then I just dived into the research on sleep. And then I discovered how light impacts something that we have called a circadian rhythm, which is Latin circa, about, and diem, a day. And it's what every human has. And it governs basically how our hormones are secreted, how we feel, when we should eat properly, and also when we should sleep. And I found out that this rhythm was actually governed by light and also darkness. And then as I dived into the literature more and more, I found there were specific frequencies of light at different times of the day that had positive and negative impacts on our health. And this was both visible and invisible. I focused more on the visible light. And then I read a few studies that use something called BLUblox glasses. And I thought, right, let's test them out. And I went on Amazon, grabbed myself a $20 pair. They were these like sort of safety goggle looking things, sort of amber lens. I popped them on, and for a good couple of weeks, my sleep improved. I still woke up in the night, but I felt like I was getting more of a deep restorative sleep, which was really cool. And then after the 2 weeks, it kind of regressed back again. And I was like, well, I kind of thought to myself, well, what if these glasses actually aren't blocking exactly what they should be blocking? Because the literature was very clear on the specific banding of light you needed to block. I can come into that a little bit later if we go that route. But I bought another, I think it was about 19 pairs plus this one I had, just loads of different brands. And I just so happened to have a friend in an optics lab here in Australia. And I took them down to this lab and I said to the guys, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but can you just test these glasses with your lab grade spectrometer and just tell me what frequencies of light they're blocking? I've always been a bit of a science geek. My degree and all my sort of A levels and studies were always in science, so they knew I was a bit of a geek. So I took it down, they tested them, and not one of them was blocking what the literature said you should block to get optimal sleep and optimal melatonin release. So I said to them, look, guys, you already think I'm crazy, but could you develop a lens that blocks specifically exactly what I want it to block? And they said, yeah. They made this lens. I put it in some cool frames, ordered about 20 of them from them, just in these cool fashionable frames, this red lens, blocking 100% of what you needed to block. And then I sent those 20 pairs of glasses out to people that were already wearing BLUblox glasses, Luke Story being one of them, who I know you guys will know over in LA. And I just said to them, look, here's the science behind it. Here's why I think you're wearing the wrong blue light blocking glasses. Let me know what your thoughts are. And every single one of them came back saying, these are the bomb. These are working. The science adds up. You've got something here. And then that's how BLUblox was born. I decided to launch a company based on evidence-based and evidence-backed blue light technology.
That's incredible. And your sleep's improved and you notice like an immediate response to it or a reaction?
Yeah. The funny thing is, people that sort of try and transform their health typically need a long period of time to see benefits. Like if you change your diet, you probably need 3 months to actually see the benefit. With circadian rhythms, they can be corrected almost instantly. So when you actually start adopting appropriate light hygiene, which is a lot of natural light, and managing artificial light correctly, you actually see an instant reaction and an instant result. And when I started wearing these glasses, literally the first night was the first night in a long time that I actually slept through the night. And then I kept testing them, and it just continued on. And my sleep just managed to be just completely on point for a long period of time. And it hasn't regressed since. And, there's other things you can do to optimize your sleep. Light's probably 80% of the equation. Things like meal timing, not exercising before bed, things like that, calming the body. But light just seemed to be this massive influencer of circadian rhythms. And when you actually block exactly what the science says you should block, it's incredible what results you get. And we've had the fortunate result of having, hundreds and hundreds of people leave us messages and reviews about, one in particular stands out. There's a guy up in the Northern Territory here in Australia, which is quite a rural place. There's actually not a huge amount of artificial light up there. It's very remote. probably almost as remote as Perth. And his mother suffered from insomnia for about 30 years. And this guy was a PT, so he did all the diet, exercise, everything like that, and couldn't fix it. And he bought a pair of the red lens glasses, had her wear them. And after one night, she came back to him and said, I slept through the night. And this woman had insomnia for 30 years. It's
Wow.
incredible when you hear things like that. It makes our day.
So cool.
I mean, I love, it's always cool to hear when somebody dives in really deeply on something that so many people take for granted, right? They try to adjust the time they go to sleep. They try not to eat maybe right before bed. But even that, I think most people just sort of do whatever on any given night and then are surprised when they don't get the results that they want. We got some pairs from you. I've worn the red ones a few times, but I got to say, even the mid-level ones, which I'm wearing right now,
yes,
the sort of afternoon, evening ones, I was just talking to my assistant, to Maddie, beforehand. And when I put them on and I'm on a computer, within 30 seconds, I feel a reduction in anxiety, almost like there's a calmness that comes on me. And, we just went through the adjustment of light because of the time adjusted. And if we really pay attention to it, we can tell how badly we get thrown off when the light changes. I mean, that's really the only thing that's changing when they change the time, is that your body's relationship to light changes. And it took me like a week to adjust.
Yeah, all of us. Our baby who has blackout curtains, like she doesn't know the difference, but she does. Like her body craves the normalcy and the routine that she had, the last 6 months before that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And there's definitely a subjective effect. I've tried other blue blockers. I get intermediate effects with them. I'm gonna give the red ones more of a try, because those are really like before you go to bed glasses.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure. And it's great to hear the calming effect that you have with those. The yellow ones that you've got on the summer glow, and that's exactly why we wanted to create those for during the day. They're very heavy on targeting the frequencies of light that seem to spike your cortisol levels and contribute to those feelings of sort of pent up and stressed and maybe anxious. So they're definitely definitely the hardcore ones for during the day. As there's also clear lenses as well that people can wear that perhaps don't have a sensitivity to light, and you can kind of tell when you've got a sensitivity to light. And I was almost like patient zero for BLUblox in so much that I always suffered migraines as well. And this was something else that started when I was around about 14 as well. So obviously something happened in my life around about that time that really spurred these things on. And, when you sort of look at, I guess, light sensitivity issues like migraines, you look at things like anxiety, depression, stress, and also something called seasonal affective disorder, which we typically don't get in Australia because the sun shines 300 days of the year and it's about 88 Fahrenheit in the winter. So it's just always hot and sunny. But when I was in the UK, especially my mum actually, and she's kind of suffering it a little bit at the moment. I mean, they're going into spring now, which is good. But during the winter, just feels very down, depressed, anxious because, there's not a lot of natural sunlight out there to increase dopamine and serotonin. But, we're also, because of daylight savings and social time, we're confined to being indoors a lot of the time. And during the winter, when the darkness caused by the clouds and lack of sun causes us to put on lights. So we're putting on our office lights or our house lights. We're on technology maybe more in the winter because we're not really going outside because it's too cold, and we like temperature controlled environments. And the more artificial light that we're exposing ourselves to, coupled with the lack of natural light, which is, makes us happy and feel good, is leading to this epidemic of seasonal affective disorder and also, heightened anxiety and depression. So this is why we wanted to, make the product that you're wearing now, Addy, which is the summer glow lenses, to actually infuse, and no one's done this before. We wanted to take blue light management for during the day, but also infuse the theory of color therapy into the lenses as well. So we wanted to not put on these glasses and make it darker for everyone because it's already dark. We wanted to uplift mood, and we found research out there that basically said that different colors can have different impacts on people's mood and well-being, and yellow seemed to be one that made people feel happy and really energetic and actually sort of brightened up the environment they were in. So we've managed to infuse that in and actually uplift people's mood that may be affected by, that's this seasonal affective disorder.
I love that. In our house, we have, I feel like I'm sensitive to lights in a different way. Like, I don't think looking at a phone right before bed doesn't seem to really disrupt my sleep. I'm also a really good sleeper. I just have always been a great sleeper.
You need a lot of sleep.
I need a lot of sleep. Yeah. I require a lot of sleep. I require, and I just thrive on more sleep. And when I get less sleep, I'm more moody and like a little depressed. But in the house, I noticed that like the whiter lights,
The temperature of the light
itself, just like on a very aesthetic thing, like it makes me anxious. So like the really intense white light makes my skin crawl. And I don't know if that's the same thing with the brain, but like the moodier light, the more yellow light just makes me feel better. So I'm wondering if that's like a similar thing to what you're talking about, but just in a different way with the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll answer that sort of in two phases. The first is, the length of time that someone should sleep. And this is why I always hate it when people say, everyone needs 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
Like it's not true, like it's the quality. Yeah. It's the quality of sleep. Like, I think that when you look at sleep phases, I think it's about 6.5 hours. If you have the perfect sleep and go through each phase of REM, deep and light sleep, that one should be getting. But if you're not getting all those phases in an optimal form, then you're going to need longer to sleep. Now, when you look at seasonal sleep as well, there are studies out there that are showing that in the summer months, we actually can function from a circadian standpoint and from a mitochondrial sort of health standpoint a lot better on less sleep. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the winter, when sun is less, we actually function a lot better on more sleep. So we need to start looking at sleep, I guess, seasonally as well as, just as per night basis. And also not take some sort of sleep guru's advice of like, have your 8 hours of sleep. Like, sleep is what's right for you, what makes you feel good. And as long as you're getting the good quality sleep, you can have less sleep than someone that perhaps isn't getting really good quality sleep, but needs longer to get that sleep. So,
but I think that's why it's hard. And I'm actually going to be interested. I think we got one pair of the red glasses. So I might ask for a second pair. Secondly, I might want you to try them because you're supposed to try them like an hour or two before you go to bed. Yeah. And only because they block, like you said, 100% of this blue light range. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I do wonder if it would help you sleep more deeply, which would then potentially require less.
I feel like
hours.
I sleep really deeply and I have great sleep hygiene. Like I feel great about going to sleep. We get in bed and like lights off like 6 nights out of 7 by 10:30. And then the thing is our middle child comes into our bed. It's not about my sleep. If he didn't come in, I would sleep through the night. If I get woken up by him, which is like 90% of the time, I feel his energy come into the bed, ask him if he has to go to the bathroom first. He comes in, he curls in, I get him a pillow. Like it's a whole thing that I have while he sleeps. Yes. And sometimes he says something to me, and like, not always can I get right back to sleep. Sometimes I can, but other times it's like a 20-30 minute moment of me just needing to like breathe, come back to like a sleep-like state, a dream-like state. But it's like it's a practice. Whereas if I were just sleeping on my own, I would just sleep through the night.
But have you ever tried anything that blocks specific light?
Only the ones that you've seen me use.
Yeah, because Sophie,
I'm not religious about it.
Not just that, but Sophie likes the clear ones.
I don't like or not like. That's the only ones that I've ever used. Yeah.
Yeah. The issue with that is, if I remember the numbers correctly, and this is not just for BLUblox, but it's for other brands as well. Those normally block like 30% of the light, and so there's a huge difference between blocking 30% of, especially and I hear what you're saying, which is really interesting. As the percentage of natural light drops, which is both in the winter but also at nighttime, your body, and I was looking up the brain part because it's the optic chasm is the part where your optic nerve kind of crosses from right to left brain and sort of redistributes to your eyes. And right above it is a suprachiasmatic nucleus. It's this little tiny brain area. And that's the brain area that has essentially kind of like one job to say, is there light? Is there not light? And its job is to reset your circadian rhythm. So it looks for a period of no light followed by light. And as soon as it follows light, cortisol levels, spike and they start going down. And that's your body's signal. Hey, it's time to wake up. So I think what's interesting from the biological, and I'm sure Luke did a lot of stuff on this. From the biological standpoint, as humans, we tend to think that it's our psychology that's affecting things. But there are certainly, from all the research I've seen, it really ranges from 30, 40% to 70, 80% for any given behavior, experience, etc., that is almost purely biological. And if you mess with the biology, it alters your psychological and psychic experience. And so, again, for me, it is weird. I'm always just because I've learned about this stuff, I try to be really observant, and it's this really weird effect where I understand why. I understand logically why it does this. But you put on these glasses and you go, oh, like I can breathe a little more deeply. And it's weird. Your brain doesn't think that the two should be associated, but we're surrounded by artificial light. Like I stare at a computer screen, you stare at a phone. We have upstairs, we have all these lights. Yeah,
I try and during the day, I keep all our lights off in the home, except for the really moody,
yellowish lights
that are just beautiful aesthetically. I light candles during the day, really trying to keep the vibe very natural. And at night, I don't like any of the overhead lights. I go around the house turning them off after he turns them on. I can't, it makes me so anxious to be around that. And it's just, an interesting observation of our own differences and our sensitivities. And I think bigger picture for our listeners, I think this is so important because I don't think that enough people, everyone should own a pair of these and everyone should be practicing this the same way we do other things in self-care. This should be a non-negotiable. If you are going to be on a screen, which most people are, you should have a pair of these. Especially in the evening. Yeah,
definitely. And I completely agree with you. I think it would be probably good for me to talk a little bit about melatonin in relation to this. So before I do, I always have this saying that people that have a bad diet and put on a lot of weight and become obese, they're the lucky ones, okay? Because they can see the damage that their diet and lifestyle is causing to them, okay? But we also have a lot of people in the population that eat a rubbish diet, they don't put on weight, and they end up with diabetes and they end up with other issues, okay? So when it comes to sleep, people think that melatonin is a sleep hormone, okay, which is only a partial context. It's a partial truth. What melatonin actually does in our bodies is it actually scavenges free radicals. It neutralizes reactive oxygen species. And it's actually the only antioxidant that doesn't produce oxygen by reacting with oxygen to neutralize the ROS in the body. So what we've got to bear in mind is that to actually clear out, through apoptosis and autophagy, repair and clear out dead and damaged cells, we need melatonin levels to be the highest that we possibly can. We can sleep as humans without melatonin. Something called sleep pressure, which is the buildup of adenosine, which is a byproduct of adenosine triphosphate, which we use through metabolic processes, causes something called sleep pressure, which is going to make us sleep regardless of light. But the quality of the clear out of the autophagy and the apoptosis processes is all governed by melatonin. Now, melatonin can only be produced optimally in the absence of blue and green light between 400 and 550 nanometers after sunset. And it can also be governed on the amount of serotonin and tryptophan, which is found in the gut. Serotonin in the gut typically seems to be raised and increased through specific frequencies of natural light as well during the day. And tryptophan typically found through diet. So I think we've got to bear in mind that you might be sleeping brilliantly. I think people will sleep brilliantly. And there's also a very small percentage of people with blue eyes in the northern hemisphere in sort of Scandinavia that have no impact with blue light whatsoever. And they can literally stare at a screen all night and sleep. But people need to look at the hormonal impact that could be having as well. And I think long term, because we don't see those issues, within 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, 15, 20 years down the line. I think you've just got to be, I guess, cognizant to the fact that, melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone, and, it has a much larger role to play in the body.
Yeah.
When we're taking melatonin, what's the source of that? Like if I buy melatonin in the store, like what is the source of that?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
I tried to research it the other day with Brian Ship. I tried to look it up the other day with him because we were like, what are we taking though? Like, is it from an animal? Like, where is this melatonin coming from? Like, it must just be a chemically created
it'd be a chemically created
or something,
or a plant analog or something along those lines.
It's really hard to find it.
That's interesting. We can look. Well, everybody listening, we'll do a little more research and we'll see if we can find anything for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that I think I'll say kind of supersedes or is sitting on top of this entire conversation we're having right now is that this blue light exposure, this artificial light exposure, especially at nighttime, especially in the relative absence of good amount of natural light, like in winters.
Yeah.
Puts the body under more stress.
Definitely.
And, whether it's diabetes or hypertension, obesity, stroke, Alzheimer's, cancer. I mean, the number of disorders, depression, anxiety, the number of disorders, physical, psychological, mind, body, pick your frickin' category, that are either created by or greatly exacerbated by chronic stress. We did an entire episode on this. Is monumental. And I think, I wrote about this first literally like a decade ago. And I was saying, because I do a lot of work around addiction and mental health. And I was saying, at the core, at the base of all of this stuff are intense levels of pressure and stress that we put our bodies through. Medicine, prescriptive and over the counter, other techniques and mechanisms we've come up with in life help us pretend like we're okay, even when our bodies have been stressed forever. You get back pain, you don't sleep well, you get anxiety, you get depression, and then we cover it all up with other Band-Aids and momentary solutions. But the thing you're talking about is the 10, 15, 20-year cumulative impact of having lived essentially under chronic infection as far as your body is concerned, but just that infection is called stress, and it is the killer. More than anything else in society, I feel like chronic stress is the thing that destroys us. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's very interesting point you mentioned as well about the stress that builds up in our bodies. And, we distinguish between, I guess, natural stress and, that happens in the body through metabolic processes. And then also, the unwanted stress of, I guess, modern society and social pressures. But the way, I guess, circadian rhythms comes into this. And there was a study about 4 months ago now that was released about the skin. Okay. And what they did was in this study was they tested skin cells in the lab to see if the skin had its own circadian rhythm. And lo and behold, they found out that the skin does. It has its own circadian rhythm independent of what's found in the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the master clock. And when you actually dive deeper into the literature, every cell in the body has its own clock called a peripheral oscillator. Now, going back to the study with the skin, during the day, so they basically put the skin under full spectrum light. Okay, so the equivalent of being sort of out in sunlight during the day, or I guess probably not the same as being under artificial light, but there's still a blue frequency within that test band. They found that the skin was able to react to UV light better. Okay, it was able to synthesize that better. It was able to allow metabolic processes and basically the skin to be active during the day. But what they found was when they turned that light off on the skin actually switched in its circadian rhythm, and it actually turned into this repair and recovery mode. Okay, so it went into clearing out inflammation, reducing the stress and damage that was caused in the skin cells during the day. Now, what the researchers sort of went on to discuss in the paper was the fact that these days our skin doesn't ever have a natural ancestral circadian rhythm. We expose ourselves to blue light during the day. We're outside during the day. It's all fine. Maybe too much artificial light is causing skin issues as well. But what are we doing after sunset when, ancestrally speaking, and from a circadian standpoint, there should be no blue and green light? It should only be red light from a fire. We're not allowing our skin to go into recovery mode. It can sense that blue light through melanopsin receptors that are found in the skin, which until 18 months ago, we didn't even know were in our skin. And it's telling the skin that it's daytime. We don't need to repair. We don't need to recover. So our skin is in this perpetual sort of daytime circadian sort of chasm where it literally cannot get out. And this is why I always say to people that sort of come to me for advice that a good step in improving your light hygiene and circadian health is wearing blue light blocking glasses. But you're still leaving a lot on the table if you're not covering up your skin and you're not managing the light environment that you live in as well. And, it led me to think, maybe things like skin cancers, maybe UV light that is used to synthesize with cholesterol to create vitamin D. Yes, it's probably causing some cellular damage at a natural level, but because we're then going home after being out in the sun all day and switching on these artificial lights, we're not allowing the nature and our biological systems to actually repair the damage caused by that UV light.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess going back to your question, Sophie, on the light, when you turn it up really bright, making your skin crawl. So many people say that it makes them twitchy, irritable, and that's because of the melanopsin receptors I've just mentioned earlier. So we have different opsins within our body, one being melanopsin, there's rhodopsin, and there's various other ones. And they're sensitive to specific frequencies of light. Now, when you look at LED lights, they spike between 460 and 480 nanometers, which is the mid to upper blue spectral range. Now, guess what melanopsin, which is found in every skin cell, targets in terms of how it recepts and how it picks up light? It's at 480 nanometers. So when those lights are on really bright and they're hitting your skin, all those receptors in your skin, the melanopsin receptors, are actually translating that light and sending messages to your skin. So some people that are ultra sensitive, and I've heard this many a time before, so it's really cool that you've mentioned it, they feel their skin crawl and they feel really sort of goosebumpy and sort of tingly, and that's a reaction to the blue light hitting those melanopsin receptors. Now, basically what you're doing is you're doing a good and a bad thing by dimming the lights. The good thing is that the lower the lux of that light, the less impact it's going to have on your melanopsin receptors. So think, for instance, from an ancestral point, think of the moon and the stars. They will emit very, very low lux blue and green light because they are the reflection of the sun. But they'd have no impact on the skin and circadian rhythm because they're very, very low lux. They're only a few lux compared to hundreds of thousands of lux from the sun. So you're doing the right thing. However, in LEDs, there is something that a lot of people actually don't know, and it is the flicker effect. Yeah. So when we moved away from incandescent light bulbs in the 80s and 90s, we moved to LED light bulbs. We're actually utilizing, I guess, the alternating current from the mains and how the light bulb is configured from a technology standpoint causes that light to be energy saving, because that's the reason we invented LED lights, to pulse. Now, in the best case scenario, you won't be able to see it, but if you get your iPhone out and you film your light using the slow-mo of your camera, you will play it back and you'll just see this light going like pulse, 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 pulse. And that can cause major issues as well for people, especially like, at the extreme level, photosensitive epilepsy. But, at the not so sort of acute level, it can cause things like migraines, headaches, and, cellular nervous system damage as well.
Good for awareness. We actually have the majority of our lights now at D switched out when we moved in.
But that's about the temperature. He's right. Almost everything is LED now.
Right.
Yeah. But
so what you need is, and I'll send you guys these as well, because they arrived actually yesterday, is and it's taken me a year to create these with an engineer, is flicker-free LED light bulbs. So we've got two. We've got one that removes all blue light from 480 nanometers down and only leaves a little bit of blue light in. And they give out that warm yellow glow, and they also don't flicker, and they're LEDs.
Cool.
And for after dark, we actually have red ones that match our Sleep Plus glasses. So I'll send you guys some of those to try for sure.
That's awesome.
So do you guys convert the AC to DC? Is that how you do it?
I think that's what they did. I mean, I'm not an engineer and technician, but I just said to them, "This is what I want you to do, and here is how I want you to test them, and what company I want you to test them with, because I want zero flicker." And they kept coming back, and we got it to, started off like 60% reduction, then it went up to about 85, and then like it took about a year until we saw the test results we wanted to see to be able to, call this, what it is, and get that 100% flicker free, which was epic. But yeah, it was a tough journey, man.
That's cool. I mean, here's what I love about this discussion. And it's, a lot of the people listening right now are struggling, and they've been looking for a long time internally in terms of like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get my mind right? Why am I not showing up to my days the way I want to? And the idea that you can alter relatively minor things in your environment, right? Like I'm just wearing these, and I try to wear them as much as I can when I'm working in front of my laptop, because I do that for hours a day, and I recognize the fatigue that it creates in me. But in these small ways, and if you can use these hacks to alter your environment to better suit your physiological needs, then the next thing you know, you feel better. You just feel better, and you haven't changed anything about the way you internally work.
Right.
It's almost like, in a way, it's almost like what people try to achieve by hormone therapy, because by circumventing the ways that your body screws up its own hormones because of what you're exposed to, you end up not needing as much of the hormone therapy. Like, you don't need as much melatonin. You don't need to offset testosterone levels and norepinephrine levels, and even thyroid hormone levels, right? Like, I have a thyroid issue. I can almost guarantee it's from stress over years. It's just, my thyroid had to work too hard for decades. And after a while, it kind of said like, screw you, man. I'm done. I'm out of here. And now I have to compensate. The more we can do to offset that pain and that stress in our environment, the better off we all are.
I also think like this is just yet another tool to develop more of an awareness of our habits. And this is really cool because you don't have to do anything except for remember to put them on. It's not like you have to change your lifestyle. You just literally have to put a pair of glasses on. So I really like that because it's just another tool. And then when you start doing that, you notice the difference. So then you say, oh, well, that feels really good. Like now I can adjust other little things and control other little things. Like maybe I go to bed 30 minutes earlier, or maybe now I read 30 minutes before bed, or maybe I take a bath before bed instead of whatever it is that's a little more stimulating, like posting on Instagram or something like that. Like it starts, the thing about wellness that I love and what's so great about it is it's like a portal. And once you start to be more aware of your own internal wellness, it becomes addicting in a beautiful way where like, I just want to be feeling good all the time. And so I just am fine tuning all of the things that I have control over. And it's really cool. We're like our own experiments within ourselves. And this is just yet another tool to help us in this like ever developing world, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And, I'm not one of these people that wants to be known as a guru, because I believe that there's multiple pillars of health. I think that mindfulness and sort of gratitude practice is one of those. I think EMF management is another, which includes light, and Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G. I think exercise, nutrition, I think all these things are fundamentally important in creating the optimal, I guess, internal, correct biological system, both hormonally and from a wellness perspective in people. But, so many people just look at diet and exercise and then they might tag on the mindfulness or the gratitude, but there are other areas as well that people need to tackle. And so many people in my field, doctors will turn around and say, it doesn't matter what you eat, you don't need to exercise, as long as you manage light, do what you want. And I'm just like, no, that doesn't work. You can't sit and eat a cheeseburger, you know, like it's just ridiculous. Like
it's holistic and it's so many, and like what affects me might affect you differently, but like figuring that out within ourselves and really bringing awareness to like, as our own unique beings, what do we need to live the most well life and create happiness, you know?
Absolutely.
Completely agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So we have 5 questions that we ask every single person that comes on this podcast. And we want to put you in the hot seat. You ready?
I am ready. Yeah, far away.
All right. Number 1, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Oh, that's a good one. The best advice I've ever received is to, I guess, clear my mind. Okay. Now, I'm very analytical and I overthink a lot of things. And that led me to have high levels of stress, and I became, you know, very anxious through my life. I can't relate to that at all. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing advice to basically put yourself in this positive mindset all the time, not worry about things and live in the present. And that for me has changed my life.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. Number 2, what has been your proudest moment to date?
My proudest moment was definitely marrying my wife. And I'm not just saying, actually sat in the other room and can probably hear me. I absolutely met my soulmate, my best friend, and ultimately my business partner. And, you know, we've worked together since we first met 10 years ago in the corporate world, and we took that into business together. And the pivotal moment was obviously meeting her, but getting married in Paris was beautiful. And it was just such an intimate ceremony. And I was just so proud to be marrying this beautiful, intelligent woman.
Amazing.
That's good.
On the flip side of that, what about your most challenging or difficult moment?
Most challenging moment was probably when I was about 16. My parents went through a divorce, and it was right in the middle of my studies. And to focus was very, very difficult. I managed to obviously get through it and do well at my studies. But yeah, I was very, very close to both my parents. And, you know, the breakup was a little bit messy to start with as well. And it really messed me up for a good few years. I was a bit of a rebellious teenager after that and hated the world and hated everyone. So that was real challenging for me. And I'm just glad I'm out the other side of that now and, you know, grateful to where I am today.
Yeah. And then for self-care, like anything that you're doing on a daily basis that just keeps you grounded and centered?
Yeah, absolutely. 6-point meditation, Vishen Lakiani, and also manifestation, gratitude practice from Bob Proctor. Sort of very generic sort of practices, but I just find that when I'm, you know, I do them daily, but sometimes I do them twice daily. Like if I typically do them in the morning, it's one of the first things I like to do whilst watching the sunrise. But if I have start feeling the stress come back to me and start overthinking things and start thinking to myself, okay, I'm kind of regressing back a bit today into the old Andy. I will plug in and have 20 minutes just listening to those guys talk me through, you know, a guided meditation and manifestation.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We call this podcast Ignited. What gets you ignited?
What gets me ignited is, I guess, helping others and educating. And this is why I always like to, you know, pester the likes of yourselves to actually come on your shows, because I hate selling. I'm not a salesman. I just love educating. And I just want to empower people. And as long as we can help one person from this show, this conversation is completely worth it. And I guess the second thing that ignites me as well, and definitely with business, and before I even started BLUblox, is charity. We actually work with a charity, a not-for-profit in LA, California, called Restoring Vision, where we donate a pair of reading glasses for every pair of BLUblox we sell. And they give it to people in the third world that need reading glasses to actually work or go to school, provide education and provide income. So just helping others, you know, either from empowering people to help themselves or helping people that basically can't help themselves.
That's so great.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all the deep diving that you had to do into your own health to create this product and to help people. I know that we have a a special code for people that we will have down in our notes to make sure that everybody can get a pair of these to help their sleep, help regulate stress and anxiety and things like that in their own life, and put everything we just talked into use in their own life.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Such an inspiration.
Thanks, guys. Honestly, I'm so grateful, and wish you a really good day.
Stay safe out there.
And for everybody listening right now, obviously, as you know, take a screenshot of this, subscribe to the podcast. Let us know what it is that really hit you. What are some of the tips that really resonated for you? And if you know people who struggle with sleep, anxiety, stress, etc., tag them in it.
Yeah,
so
give
they
it a
can have these
try.
messages.
I can't wait to get my sister a pair of these. She has struggled on and off with anxiety and insomnia her entire life. So I'm going to get her a pair for sure. And then where can we find you on Instagram?
Yeah, if people want to follow, I guess, my journey in terms of, business and entrepreneurship, then I am Andy Mant on Instagram is the place to go. We kind of keep the light education to @BLUblox official, which is pretty cool. So jump on there. We're not just posting pictures of pretty people wearing glasses. There's a lot of science in there. And if people want to really take a deep dive with us, I've got a group on Facebook. It's about 6,000 members in, called Light and Health. And that's where all of us boffins go and geek out about light and health and share the latest studies. If people want to contact us through the website, just go through BLUblox.com, contact us through there, and we can help people with, what glasses to pick out or any other advice they want in terms of light.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
No worries.
Have a good day.
Guys.
See you all next week.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.